This is Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles from Safe Harbor Retirement Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Corey provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles.
Hello and welcome back to Financially Fit Radio. My name is Corey Sickles from Safe Harbor Retirement Group and Wealth Advisors. If you'd like more information about what we discuss on the show today, just give us a call at 614-760-0670. Or always feel free to visit our website at safeharboroh.com. You can also sign up for our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, or Spotify. Also, feel free to visit our YouTube page just by typing in Safe Harbor Retirement Group. You can watch videos on different types of financial topics. And remember, all meetings that you do schedule with us are complimentary. There's no obligation. Again, so feel free to visit our website at safeharboroh.com or visit or give us a call at 614-760-0670. And today we're going to talk about retirement trends. I think it'll be a great topic. I think it's going to be a lot of great information that we're going to be able to discuss. But before we kind of dive into that, let me introduce to you my co-host this week and every week, and that's Tony Shore. Tony, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Corey. Thanks for asking. I had a really busy week last week and over the weekend. You know, my grandfather, my dad had to have a big farm auction to auction off a lot of my grandfather's household goods and tractors, and it was huge. It was a huge sale. It was incredible how many people showed up. But a lot of work, Corey, and I went down there to help him out, and I forgot what hard work was really like. Moving like machine parts and it was a lot of work. That's all I'm going to say.
Did most everything go?
Yes, most everything went. I mean, there was some small junky stuff that didn't sell, but all there were 16 tractors. Now, most of them were antique John Deeres that didn't run great or didn't run at all. There were a few big working tractors, a couple, but all the tractors sold, and some sold for way less than my dad wanted. Some sold for way more, so it all evened out. So that was good. Now we just have to pay the tax man. I told my dad, don't go spending that money you just made on the sale.
Right.
Uncle Sam's going to take part of it. I've learned enough here on the show to know, hey, you gotta watch that. So. Overall, it went really well, though. We can't complain. It did not rain during the sale, so that's good. And I'm wiped. I had forgotten what hard manual labor was all about there for a while, Corey. How about you? I know you've been busy meeting with clients and things, right?
Oh, yeah. This is, it's actually unexpectedly pretty busy. I know here we are in July already. You know, a lot of people were doing trips and things like that, but we're actually still real busy in here, and things are good here at the office, and and I think today's topic's kind of a good one to kind of talk about. It's just a general about some of the retirement trends that people should really be thinking about when you start planning for retirement and things like that. And of course, the first one that I kind of want to jump into, Tony, and that is people are living longer, just in general. The U.S. is still a few years behind, some of these other countries. Mainly, I think Japan might have one of the longest life expectancies out there. But people are living longer. If you're married and you're over 65, I mean, there's almost like a 70 or 80% chance one of you is going to probably live to 90 anymore.
Crazy.
So, so when we start talking about living longer, of course, that means that now you actually have to be able to plan to have your money last longer. And of course, one of the questions that we have, we ask all our clients and prospects, and really is what is one of your big fears? And one of the biggest fears is basically to outlive your money. And that's why it's so important to be able to find out when you should retire, how much money you should be taking out of that in order to supplement your income in retirement. Because the one thing you do not want to do is, live longer and then be in a situation where, you don't have any money.
Right. Yeah, I just think that a lot of people are concerned about that, obviously. And you want to make sure you've got money that will last throughout your whole retirement. And that's the key.
That is the key. And it's just, it's kind of like one of these things, because this is what a lot of people will always tell me, right? Well, I want to retire in my 60s. For those first 10 years, I want to be able to probably spend a little bit more, travel and do those type of things. And then as you kind of age and you're no longer able to travel as much, then you probably spend a little bit more money in healthcare costs and things like that. But the thing that you really have to watch is spending too much money during those first 5 to 10 years in retirement, because, if you spend too much money, you're going to lose a lot of that compound interest and growth from your assets that you're really going to be able to need, for the longer that you do live.
Yeah, and that's the key right there, having a retirement income plan and working with a financial services professional like yourself. That is what's going to make all the difference in the world when it comes to this. And I just think that there are a lot of changes that happen rapidly to the way people need to retire and plan for retirement, right?
Yeah, I think you do need to be able to plan. I always say if you don't have a plan today, you need to have a plan tomorrow. And I think one of the other things that you're actually seeing is I see more and more people that are coming through our offices or that we're working with is, they're really starting to work beyond the age of 65. Now, that means they might not retire till 67 or 68 or anything like that. But I do think you do see a shift in people, retiring, a few years later after they can actually start taking their Medicare. And let's face it, those 1 or 2 or 3 years that you maybe do work extra, it's going to help you out tremendously from a financial, perspective. Sure. I think another part of it is people are healthier, which means they can work, which means you're also probably going to live a little bit longer and might still have, 25, 20 years in retirement. And it's a great way to be able to also stay active, engaged, not only with your friends, your coworkers, but also within the community as well.
Yeah, and that is a great idea. That is one key thing you can do to make sure you have enough money for retirement. Work a couple of years longer than maybe you'd initially planned. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if you like your job or you socially interact with people at your work and you like people you work with, it's not such a bad thing. And just a couple of years longer could make all the difference. And like you say, people are living longer and longer. We stay healthier longer. So that's good.
Yeah. And, another thing I'm also seeing a lot of, Tony, and that is people kind of like phasing in retirement. So maybe you do quit that full-time job that you have, but now you have a part-time job where, maybe you're a golf starter or, a golf starter at a golf course, or maybe you're working at a Home Depot or Lowe's, or maybe you're even, I have a lot of people anymore that are doing a little bit of DoorDash or Uber or Lyft. Just a way to be able to, again, be able to stay active, but more importantly, maybe to be able to get that $10, $15, $20,000 of income, so you really don't have to start dipping into your retirement savings.
Yeah, and, I think a lot of people make that mistake. Like you just said, they dip into the retirement savings too early or when they shouldn't, right?
Yep. That's definitely one thing. It's amazing when we start putting together the plans by, not taking $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 out of your account by delaying it 1, 2, or 3 years, what that actually means to you 20 years later. When we start actually building, income plans and, what kind of nest egg are you going to be able to have potentially for your beneficiaries, if that's what you want to be able to do as well. Of course, I think the main goal when we start talking about this too is, if you're living longer, that means you're going to have money. But more importantly now, if you go back and look at the previous generation, they had pensions, right? And unless you actually work for the federal government, whether you're a teacher or state employee, pensions really no longer exist anymore, right? So that means your personal savings, or the way that you actually save, it's all going to be up to you now to be able to create the type of retirement that you want, but more importantly, when you want to be able to retire, right? Hopefully you're in a situation today, even that you're maybe at least saving a minimum of 10% of whatever your overall salary is. But hopefully you'll be able to save around 15 to 20% of what your annual salary is be able to save that on an annual basis, because, it is up to you now, right? And you have to be able to not only save, but you want to be able to save the right way. And we've talked about it so many times on this show. Don't put all your money 100% just into your 401k or an IRA. You want to make sure you're also putting it into a Roth 401k or a Roth account, just so you can get some tax-free growth. And also just a regular investment account where, you're only going to have to pay on the gains. You don't want to be in a situation when you retire and your entire savings is going to be taxed for as long as you live.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's huge. And taxes, I'm glad you brought up taxes, because that's another big aspect that you need to look at if you want to have a successful retirement.
Taxes is always part of it. It's not what you make, it's what you keep, right? And that's a big part of it. I mean, if you can be in a situation where the majority of your money's tax-free, you don't care what's going to happen to, when the IRS or Uncle Sam raises those tax rates. We've talked about it so many times on the show that, most of my clients are in the same tax bracket when they retire, as they were working. And all that means to you is our tax is going to be higher or lower 10 or 15 years from now. And, we're at the lowest levels ever. So taxes are not going to get cheaper. Yeah. If anything, they're going to go up. So you need to be able to make sure that you're working with an advisor that has that insight to be able to make sure that you have a diversified portfolio from a tax efficiency standpoint as well.
Yeah, and that's diversification is a key. And from a tax standpoint, like you say, it's very important. And a lot of people are confused. We've talked about this before on the show, Corey, about how all this plays together or works together, taxes, asset allocation, and it's huge. People don't realize what they're going to have to pay for taxes in retirement, and they may need to allocate their retirement savings differently before they get to that stage, right?
Oh, exactly right. I mean, you want to be able to work with an advisor now. You don't want to sit there and say, "Hey, I want to retire in 6 months. Can you help me out from a tax saving standpoint?" This is more of a long-term approach, not a short-term approach. So you need to be able to, to work with that advisor as early as you possibly can as well. When we start talking about, work and things like that as well, one of the things that, when we talked about that phased-in retirement approach, but if you also look at a lot of the workforce, today, that is kind of changing and evolving as well. You actually have more people that are doing more freelance or, remote work and things like that as well. So you might be in a situation where you'll be able to, potentially work a little bit longer just because of the way that everything has changed, from a dynamic standpoint, within the workforce. More people are working, for remote. That's probably one of the best things that kind of really came out of COVID. Is being able to work and being able to do more Zoom or Teams or whatever you do from a video standpoint. But that also puts you in a situation to maybe have that part-time job, while you're in retirement as well, because it doesn't matter where you are. You could actually be spending 6 months out in Arizona and still working your gig or whatever you're actually doing on a part-time basis.
Well, yeah, there you go. And I like that idea as well. Maybe working part-time in retirement, doing something you like. It's better to have a job and work because you want to, and it's something you want to do rather than because you have to.
Well, I think that's always the exact point, right? I mean, you want to be in a situation at some point that, hey, my target age to retire is at this age. But you know what? When you hit that age, you might be able to retire, but you might like what you're doing, but you might also go into that job one day and you're fed up with it. And you have to be able to know that I can retire right now. And it's going to make it a lot easier in the workplace going in, whether you're showing up or whether you're working remote. But you're going to have a different mental, just from a mental standpoint, knowing that, you know what, I can call in today and tell them, here's my 2-week notice. Yeah. I'm done.
Yeah, and you're right. A huge trend in retirement right now, we're talking about retirement trends, is working in retirement. Or, some people, what about going back to school? That's another retirement trend, right, that some people do. Do you have any clients or people you work with, Corey, that like to go back to school and learn a new trade or a language or something in retirement?
Yeah, I mean, I do have some clients that do that, and there's a lot of universities and things like that where you can actually go to the classes, don't have to pay anything. You're not going to get your degree, but you're able to still be able to go in and become educated on certain type of topics as well. So that's something always to be able to check out. And that kind of goes into what I, one thing that I would probably say is, you talk about being educated or going to classes and things like that. But I do think there's a lot more emphasis today on just financial literacy in general.
Right.
Right. I think it's a lot easier to be able to become, just a little bit more knowledgeable about certain things, just because the way the internet works and the way you can Google everything and all that. I mean, just all that type of stuff. You're able to go in and understand different things, from taxes or strategies to maximize your retirement savings. There's nothing wrong. One thing that we try to do more than anything here at Safe Harbor is educate our clients. We want you to know what our plan, how it works, what you're invested in. You don't have to get down to all the true details of it, but you need to have a good understanding of, this is what we're doing for you, and here's where we're going to go, and this is what it's going to look like for you in retirement. And I just think everybody should put a lot more emphasis on being able to have that financial literacy.
Corey, great show today. We're talking about retirement trends and what that means to you and your planning. And Corey, I think we would be remiss if we didn't, if we did a show called Retirement Trends and we didn't talk about pickleball. Isn't that one of the fastest growing sports amongst seniors right now?
I'll tell you what, it's one of the fastest growing sports with all my clients.
There
I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean that's huge.
They're building more and more pickle courts everywhere. You see it. I mean, you hear about it. I talk to other advisors. All their clients play pickleball. I mean, it's actually huge. The only thing that I would probably say is, I do have clients come in and, they're all banged up or they've had injuries or, so, I mean, even though it looks like it's a great way to be able to play, you still want to be able to do it with a little bit of caution as well.
And any sport that like that or hobby that is a trend in retirement, I mean, for all seniors, 50 plus, it's really popular. But it's also popular for retired folks in their 60s and even 70s. So you get up there in your 60s and 70s, you got to be careful, even in pickleball, which is a fairly simple sport, but you've got to be careful, right? I think that's a good word of advice or a word of warning. Nothing wrong with pickleball. You want to stay active in retirement, but you also have to be careful. You've seen some people come in with some pickleball injuries, huh?
Well, I think what that is more than anything, Tony, is I think a lot of that stuff just happens because people are competitive.
That's true. People get really competitive,
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, and let's face it. I'm 54. Yeah. Mentally though, when I do stuff, I still think I'm in my 20s and 30s until you try to do it, or you get out of bed the next morning and you go, "What the crap happened?"
What happened?
Right?
Yeah, exactly. What in the world happened? So I just had to bring up.
What did I get hit by last night,
What's
man?
That?
I got hit by a train.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes you get up, you got hit by a train.
Like that, doesn't it? It feels like you got hit by a train. And you're like, well, I played pickleball for a couple hours. So, well, I'll tell you what. I know it's fun. It's the fastest growing sport in the U.S., but and it's really popular with retirees. So that's one big retirement trend right now. That's not a financial trend, but it is a trend in retirement. What's another?
Nope, it's definitely a trend.
What's a financial trend that you wanted to talk about?
We kind of talked about, before our break, we were talking about financial literacy. And I think one of the other things that kind of goes with that is now there's a lot more, technology and retirement solutions, for everyone to be able to have access to their accounts, right? We have our digital, our generational vault, but really it's nothing more than a digital tool or a platform that's going to help our clients, track their investments, potentially manage their investments. You can get financial advice on there as well. And, but really what we're trying to do is make the retirement planning more accessible and convenient for our clients, and that's going to be a trend. Whether you want to do it on your laptop or do it on your iPad or do it on your mobile phone, you have access to all this information anymore. 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Yeah, you want to make sure that that you understand this. It's hard. Some people, it's hard for them to keep track of technology. But it really has made a lot more things, as you said, accessible to us. And that access is helpful, but also you want the personal touch too. I think, Corey, there's a warning here. You've heard the term robo-advisors, and you just type something in a form online and it tells you what you need to do. That's very impersonal, and that's not always going to get you where you need to go. Because there isn't a one-size-fits-all or an algorithm that fits everyone's needs. So I still encourage that personal touch of meeting with a financial advisor in person, right?
Oh, I would definitely recommend that. And there's always a few individuals out there that we do meet with that kind of like that. They do like the robo, but because they think they're getting a better or cheaper rate. In order for someone to work with, but, you also don't get that personal touch or that custom solution that we're able to provide our clients as well. And real quick, the last thing I just kind of want to talk about, Tony, you can't talk about retirement trends unless you actually talk about healthcare and long-term care considerations as well, right? If people are living longer, there's definitely going to be a need potentially for long-term care, rising healthcare costs to be able to do that. There's products and solutions out there. I recommend everybody be putting money into an HSA while you're working. You're going to be able to need those funds because you're going to spend it on healthcare. It's the number one expense in retirement outside of a mortgage, and those costs are going to just keep going up, and it's something that you can plan for, again, if you make that part of your financial plan.
Yeah, that is huge. Healthcare is a big part of this. And you've gone over a number of things on the show today, Corey. It's been a great one, but we're almost out of time. Before we go, let our listeners know what they need to do to have a plan in place to really take advantage of the trends or at least be aware of them.
Yeah, no problem, Tony. For our listeners out there, just give us a call at 614-760-0670. Or again, you can always visit us online at safeharboroh.com. And when you do call in, schedule that complimentary no obligation meeting with us. We'll be able to put a financial plan in place. If you don't have one, and if you do, again, we'll be that second set of eyes, provide a second opinion. Our goal is to make sure that you have the retirement that you want, but more importantly, when you want to be able to retire. And again, just give us a call at 614-760-0670 or visit our website at safeharboroh.com to schedule that complimentary meeting with us.
All right. Sounds great, Corey. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Financially Fit Radio. Thank you for listening to Financially Fit Radio. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound income plan. For more information, contact Corey Sickles at Safe Harbor Retirement Group. Call 614-760-0670 or visit their website at financiallyfitoh.com.
All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.